Hello everyone, this is the fourth video of Bases Excel series taught by Professor York. These videos are brought to you by Afaf Borjawi and Daniel Levy. In this video we're going to expand more on VLOOKUP by looking at the VLOOKUP's alternative, which is an HLookup. Just to give you a little bit of information, an HLookup essentially says we're going to now look horizontally instead of vertically. So what does that mean? So in these examples we have name, street, city, state on the top as kind of like column starters, and the information is vertical, so it goes down by rows. With an HLookup, it's the opposite. We have the name, street, address, username, telephone number as rows, and the actual information goes down as columns. So this is not the most common type of chart you'll see, but if you do come across it, this is how you'll tackle it. Also, when we go into the next lesson of the VLOOKUP and HLookup combination, you'll learn how to integrate the two together, which is extremely important when you're working with a lot of data. So let's begin. Let's first look at the syntax. So essentially it's the same syntax as the VLOOKUP. So we have our lookup value, like always, we have our name. So we say, okay, we want Joe Walter's street address. So we choose Joe Walter as our lookup value, comma, and we choose our table array. As always, we choose, all right, so here's what I'm going to teach you because this is going to be a little shortcut. I don't know if we mentioned it before. Choose the starting point and hit Control-Shift down, and then hold Control-Shift and hit the right arrow, and you'll copy the entire table. Again, we're going to choose to lock our value, so I'm using the F4 key. But remember, you put a $sign before the column letter and the column number on both the A and the P. This is a range, so you got to make sure you lock both those values in order for the table not to move when you drag the formula down. Now, the next thing is where the formula is different. Over here, we have something called a row index number versus a column index number. And what does that mean? Remember how I mentioned that vertical lookups use the columns, so it would be like name, street address. This would be like name over here. Joe Walter would be street address, and username would be where Edgardo Arndez would be. So here we don't have that situation. Here we have rows. So how does this work? Excel looks at this as 1, 2, 3. So it goes from top, bottom, and it chooses the rows. So in this situation, hold on, I just want to expand my table a bit. Didn't realize that. In this situation, we want the username row, which would be 1, 2, 3. So we're going down. It goes from up to down. So choose 3. And our range lookup, again, that's nothing you need to really concern yourself now. We're going to choose false or 0 works as well. We hit enter, and as you see, we get the username, and we can drag it comfortably down, and we'll get the username for everything. Now, I want to expand upon locking values. Just to remind you, what you can do here is you can actually drag, if you lock the lookup value with the column, so we're going to lock column A. Oh, I'm sorry. What I meant to say, yeah, we're going to lock column A, so we're going to put a $sign there. And now when we drag the, oops, I don't think I hit enter, I did. Now when we drag the formula to the right, it'll keep the lookup value as Joe Walter in the name area over here in this table. All we have to do is just change the row index number. So username would be row index number 4. Hit enter. And telephone number would be row index number 5. And again, to reiterate, row index, oops, I did it backwards. So row index number for username would be 3. I counted down, including the top row over here. You're only supposed to count the rows within your table array. So street address is 2, username is 3, and oops, I just realized I screwed up on street address, so I'm going to just change that really quickly. So street address is 2, and we're going to re-drag that down. Username is already correct, it's 3, so we're going to drag that formula down by double-clicking the little box. And telephone number is row index number 4. And again, we're going to drag that down. I guess the main takeaway from here is just the big difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP is HLOOKUP will take your rows instead of column numbers. So remember, rows goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how the main difference of an HLOOKUP. If you want, you could delete this information and play around with it. You could, for instance, delete the names and, oh wait, nope, you can't do that. Oops, my bad, you don't want to do that. You can delete the username and try to use a different lookup value. You could use, let's say, you could use the street address to look up the telephone number. Again, you can't so normally it's left to right is the limitation for VLOOKUP. For HLOOKUP, I believe it's up, and you can't look up anything. Like if you're using username as your lookup value, you can't look up street address or name. Let me just double check that for you, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So let's look up street address, and let's change my lookup value. I can just drag the lookup value box here, and you'll see it comes up as an A because you can't look up anything above the lookup value that you're looking for. So I can't look up street address or name if I'm using username, but I can look up telephone number if I'm using username. So instead of a limitation of left to right, it's anything above the lookup value. So that's really it with HLOOKUP. In the next video, Afaf is going to explain to you how we combine them and how we cut down on jumping back and forth between tables by incorporating an HLOOKUP. I suggest, if you're still confused with these two, to play around more with the basic VLOOKUP and then try again with the HLOOKUP before moving on. If you're still having trouble with both of these, you can try looking at my index and match function video, see if it's a more clear method, but I really do suggest you learn how to use these two formulas as they run more efficiently in Excel. All right, thank you everybody, and I hope I helped you. Have a great day and tune in for the next video.